Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Hi everyone, very exciting to be here. Today we're going to talk about how to write the perfect ticket for your developers. And tell me, or just think in your head if you had the scenario like this. If you're an SEO and you're talking with a dev and you say, can you just fix this thing real quick? It's very simple. And the dev has tons of questions and seems to find a lot of problems and you're just like, oh. Or maybe if you work in an agency, you do the classic SEO audit and you find lots of things to fix. You get your client on the other side saying, let's do all of them. And sometimes you have a dev agency that is also hired by your client on the other side thinking, this was never in the brief, we're not getting paid for this. And you have this weird situation that everyone is trying to do things and you're just in the middle. So today, we're going to talk about how we can actually do this great tickets. I do this every day and I try to leave no loose ends, so there's no reason for my engineers to say, we can't do this. And I hope I can give you some ideas to build that relationship and do things the way I do, because I finally, after so many years in SEO, everything that I want gets done the way I envisioned, and I hope I can get you guys a little bit closer to that as well. Now, we're going to go through two examples here, and for each one of those, this is the format that I have on every ticket that I write. I detail the background, I explain the work to be done, and I set a completion criteria. So there's no loose ends, there's no point where the developer thinks something was done and closed the ticket, and you are frustrated on the other side because it wasn't the way you hoped for. So the first one is, let's pretend we're building an author page. That's my daughter. She is in every presentation that I do, and she's now an author on this great website. And this ticket is just about creating the author page on the CMS. And now working closer with engineers, I understand that this is a little bit more complex than I would have thought before, because before you get to this, you need UX or you need a designer to create that mockup. Then this ticket, it's only about creating the fields on the CMS. And there will be a separate ticket to actually write the HTML code for this page to render. So just here, for something that looked very straightforward, we already have 3 tickets. And there are actually plenty more once you get into the detail, but we're going to get to it. So what is the backstory? Why does this need to be done? You don't want a developer that is just doing things because you said so. I find it a lot more useful and exciting, and the collaboration is a lot better when they understand why they're doing something and how will this impact the product that you work on. So pretty straightforward reasons here. We want to highlight the AT signals. Maybe you want to promote the authors, and maybe you just want to show who is behind the content. So they need to understand why this is happening in order to do it the right way. And sometimes they actually go the extra mile because they know what you're trying to do, and they can think ahead about the problems you have or the tickets that you might need, so things flow a lot better. Now, what exactly are they building as part of this ticket? They're not just doing your tickets, and they're not doing everything at once, so you need to be very clear about this step being complete. So let's say for an author page, I'm going to list for them, these are the fields that we need to create. We're going to have a name, we're going to have a bio, we're going to have social links, you need a headshot, and so on. And maybe not all of these fields are actually mandatory, right? You need at least a name and a bio for a page to exist, but maybe that person doesn't have social links, or they don't want to put some of their personal details on the page. That's fine, but you need to know what is mandatory. Otherwise, they could create a situation where they put a URL instead of the name, and that page just looks horrible. So this is, future-proofing a situation to make sure that the page is built the way you expect to be built. And how do they know the ticket is complete? This sometimes is pretty obvious, and sometimes it might just be a rephrasing of the previous step, but I still find it really important so there are no confusion anywhere. And in this case, on this ticket, they're just creating the CMS fields. They're not writing the HTML code for this page. They're not gathering author information. They're not adding structured data. And maybe if you have hundreds of authors, you want a way to bulk create all of this 50 or 100 pages, so you're not going page by page and copy and paste information. So these are all separate tickets. They're gonna do one at a time, and it will help you to actually feel that progression happening instead of just overloading them with, oh, we wanna do all of this at once. These are separate tasks, and they will do one by one. My second example, let's say you're building a tagging tool. Now, this is not the most obvious SEO case, but it's something that I did and I find it really useful, and it might be something that you guys will find interesting as well. Let's say a case where you want to have a common tag on the page. It doesn't need to be visible for your audience. It might be something internal. You want to tag all the blog pages that you have in a specific topic, or you want to tag all of the product pages that belong to a certain product area or things like that. On this ticket, we are just creating the tagging fields on the CMS. So we are not defining which tags are required. They should have been done before, and they are not creating a backend for these tags to be added. So very separate tasks in here, and again, a lot more manageable for them to actually do this thing in a week, and then next week they move to the next item and so on. Now, again, why does this need to be done? What is the motivation? Why should they spend a whole week just doing this thing for you when there are 10 other requests from different people asking them to do things, and somehow everything is urgent? Maybe you want an interface that will allow you easy page tagging. Maybe you want to use this for internal linking. So there is an SEO use for this. Maybe you want to use for analytics. You want to measure how certain product types or certain page types perform, and what they're not building as part of this request. When does this ticket end? We're just adding the fields on the CMS. That's it. They're going to create the fields and they will exist. They're not being populated. There are no other steps happening at this stage. I built something like this. We use at Indeed for tagging specific occupations on pages, so we can understand how a job type is performing on different page types and not just individual pages. And once you get to a place where you have thousands or millions of pages, that makes things a lot more manageable to understand what's the impact that something's having, instead of just going with a list of, I have 10,000 pages on a spreadsheet. How do you actually crunch the numbers to understand this? And maybe you want to use for international delivery. I live in Ireland and I buy things on Amazon, and quite often I get to a page that says, we cannot ship this to your country. So that could be a way to filter, don't show me the products that I can't buy in my location already. So there could be a way to organize those things together, just actually beyond the SEO use cases. And last one, how do you know this ticket is complete? How can your engineer be sure that this is done and they can move on to the next ticket? The tags are available on the CMS, that's it. They're not building the backend, they're not building use cases, they're not tagging hundreds of pages from the spreadsheet to understand them. These are all separate tasks. Someone else on the team might do them, or they might pick them up on a future sprint, but you still get that sense that something is being complete. You're a little bit closer to finish that project or that initiative. Now, writing great tickets, it's really important. I learned with my engineers to write them the way they like, and things get done on a good pace. And I don't have the frustration that I had most of my career with engineers or developers not doing the things that I wanted, or just begging for them to get a little bit of something done. But it's good to be aware of how many things they have on their plate. It's not just the SEO tickets. They have salespeople, they have the CMO, they have product people. Everybody is asking a piece for your developer to do things, and from the outside, things look a lot simpler than they actually are. Same thing with SEO, like the deeper you get, you realize that there are more complexities into things, and it's not just a one-click button that they can solve it real quick. So I want to share a few more tips that will help you to deal with your developers and avoid that frustration that I had, and I imagine a lot of you guys have as well. So first one is enjoy daily stand-ups. If you work in-house, my engineers, they meet every day at 4:30 p.m. and I'm on most of these meetings. There's not necessarily an agenda to be discussed. It's just to see how the day's going, what are they planning for that day, make some announcements, you get to know if someone is going on a holiday, you get to understand what is happening outside. This is the ticket that I want to get done, and it allows you to manage that situation as well and plan accordingly to the resources you have. And the most important for me, the most important part is actually the bonding. I get to talk with my developers all the time. I know what they're doing off work. I know when they're going on holidays. I know where one of the guys, Antti, lives in US, and how did he get his visa to move to places and so on. And this is not I'm going to build this relationship so they do things to me. You actually get to connect and understand what is happening in their world, and it's the same thing back to me. They understand what I'm doing. They know I'm here today, and that relationship flows a lot better versus just do these things for me. Triage day, we have every week. There's a list of tickets that every time I file a ticket or someone else files one, it goes to triage. And so in this meeting, where I meet with the engineers, and they will say, is this ticket ready to be picked up? Does it make sense what is written here? Because if it's not good, it won't even go to backlog. It won't even have a chance to actually be done. So there's already a layer here to say, do we want to invest time on this? And learning the things that I was doing wrong at first, I learned how to shape the tickets just as I shown you guys. So once you get to triage, you will get approved. This is very interesting, and I only learned this working with the team that I work now. We usually tend to ask an engineer or developer, how long is it going to take to do this? And reality is, maybe for me it takes 3 hours, but for someone else it takes 15 minutes. So we measure things in story points instead. So let's say in a 2-week window, I can do 5 story points. So I'm only awarded 5 story points to do. And those are more or less based on the complexity of something and not necessarily the time it will take. And I find it a lot more useful instead of just hoping that time will be the solution here. Over time, you learn how much something costs, and it allows you to plan ahead. So just ballparking things. If I want to create a field on the CMS, it's a story point. If I want to bulk update page titles or bulk update anything, it's usually 2. If I want to create a new page type, it will cost me 5. So if I know that this sprint, my team will give me 10 story points, I already can plan ahead and say, okay, what do I want to do from this? What is really important? Because maybe some of these things are just nice to have, but I know what is going to cause impact. So I start just removing everything that is not great. It just doesn't get done. It just stays forever in the backlog. Maybe there's a quiet week or something, but usually it really forces you to choose what really matters. Something else that I learned the hard way, and I find really useful now, is that investigating comes before implementing. So usually we're gonna get a ticket and say, I want this done. But truth is, maybe your developer doesn't actually know how to do this, and maybe it's too complex. Maybe they have to work with different teams to get this information, or maybe they have to learn a new database or a new coding or something. So I always, or quite often, I will file a ticket that is an investigation, and that ticket, the end of that ticket will be, here's the plan to execute this. And the plan might have several tickets inside, but at least the plan is there, and you give them time to actually understand what they're doing and not just doing the first thing that comes to mind. And it's the same with us, right? Like we do an SEO audit, we find a list of problems, we're just pointing the problems with an audit, nothing solved at that point, and it's the same thing for them. Report on the impact on business goals. I don't know if any of you guys use causal impact for SEO measuring. I love it. I actually, for the first time in my career, I can actually say, because of this thing we did, we got a 30% lift in traffic or in conversions. And report this back to your team, show the impact they're having, and so they will get excited about doing this as well. They will understand they're not just getting rid of a ticket, but they are part of something big. And actually, some of these initiatives that I do and the way we measure this are being used on my developers' promotion cases as well. So there is even for them, there's a bigger meaning on top of collectively helping the company. There is a way for them to get promoted as well as using this as an argument. If you have a large initiative, create an epic. We use Jira. I'm sure other tools have similar features like this. Let's say if you're building something that will demand 20 tickets. An epic is essentially a folder where you can put all of them together, but it's much easier to organize. It's easier to visualize how close you are to finish something. If the story points are already measured, there as well, you can get an idea of like how long it might take to get this done. And it makes it much easier to report to people and say, we're closer to finish this, or this might take another 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Then sprint planning, which is one of my favorite times of the week. We work on 2 week sprints. So once every 2 weeks, I meet with all my engineers. I try to discuss ahead of time how many story points they can give me that sprint, and what are the priorities that we have within SEO or different areas. And I already come with my list ready. So if we can only get 4 story points, we're gonna do those 2 things. If I can get 6, those are the next ones, and so on. They don't have to go through the backlog. Sometimes they will look at the backlog and say, oh, this one is easy, I'm gonna put this one, but it's not as important. So it allows you to cut through the problems and just give them what it really needs to be done. And reevaluate your priorities every sprint. There were many times that I was excited to finish something, and then something external happens and I realize we won't be able to finish this on time, or there's something that is more important that came up. I think as SEOs, we just tend to go through our list of things to fix and don't necessarily change that order if something external or internal happens. But some examples are, I would see tickets sometimes to, we need to fix these 404s. Don't really need an engineer or developer to do this. I can just do that myself, so I can free up time for them to do more important stuff. Maybe you want to create a new mock-up for a new homepage, but someone went on maternity leave, will come back in 6 months. What's the point of doing this mock-up that someone is only going to approve in 6 months from now? A lot of things can happen in this time, so you don't want to invest your engineering time doing this thing that would just sit there for a long time. Protect your engineering resources, just like with the homepage I showed before. I keep going through the backlog and making sure that tickets that other people filed are actually relevant. If I can solve something myself and save the engineering time, I do it. In this case, there were 3 different requests, 3 different tickets to do kind of the same thing. It was like, just put everything in one spreadsheet. It's actually one task, it's one story point, so we saved a lot of time and I can get the more exciting stuff done. And always remember that every little new thing that you do, even the small ones, they will take space from the big ones. And I know there's a lot of shiny things in SEO all the time. There's a new structured data type. There's something that John Mueller said. And reality is, if you keep looking to all these little things, you sometimes forget about the really important ones, the ones that you can measure, the ones that you can get to a meeting with your clients or your manager and say, these are the results we got. This is the traffic we got. This is the people that applied for jobs, conversions, whatever it is. If usually if I cannot find a way or picture a way to prove the impact of something, I kind of already don't want to do it. Like I'll live in the backlog and we'll get it done if there's time. But usually the things that you can prove impact are the ones that will really make your team excited and your clients to stick. Now, just to wrap it up, always understand the complexity. Tickets are not as simple as we think. Once you get closer to your devs, you understand how difficult some things are. Split the tickets. Author pages are actually 5 or 6 tickets and not just one, as sometimes we might think. And integrate into their workflow. Talk with them as much as you can. Understand what are the things that they're being bugged on from different people. Be mindful of their time. Sometimes they can't do everything you want on this sprint, and you're just like, okay, can we just do this too? And negotiate a little bit and be nice to them, because they'll be nice back to you. And that's pretty much all I have for today. I just have 2 little announcements. First one, I'm starting a YouTube show called SEO Game Show, where if we want to do some Who Want to Be a Millionaire kind of thing, where people will do quizzes, and should be out early next month. And at 2:50, I'll be doing informal Q&A at the Wix booth. So if anyone wants to catch up with me later, that's where you're going to find me. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I write on my website from time to time, and you should get the slides there if you want. That's all for me. Thank you.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.